So today we want to talk about what are the most common fails for a right-hand drive vehicle when it's passing the technical inspection known as the ITV test here, Inspección Técnica de Vehículos, when registering it in Spain. Okay, we know this is part of the process. You have to go through the test before you can register your vehicle in Spain. Along with the other steps, check out our other video which gives us a quick guide on how to do it. Okay, so they're specifically talking about right-hand drive vehicles now. Okay, the first thing is, evidently, is the headlights. If you have a vehicle which has a beam spread which is set up for right-hand driving, it means that the beam spread is going to kick up to the left. So you're driving along, if people are coming this way, probably opposite because I'm on the video now, but in the UK you don't want to be blinding people who are driving towards you, essentially on the right hand side, so your beam spread goes to the left hand side. In Spain, evidently, that's opposite. It kicks up to the right. Okay, so when they do the inspection, they're going to get a machine out called a cannon, so they call it a cannon machine, and that machine, basically, they focus the light into it. It has a line and a beam pattern, and they see what your beam pattern is. If that kicks up to the left, it's going to fail the test. Alright, so basically most vehicles have either halogen headlights, LED, or Zen headlights. So halogen headlights, generally the reflection comes from the rear of the light, okay, and then it's focused out, which means it's a fixed back panel, which means you normally have to replace those headlights. Okay, there are online sources for headlights here in Spain. Kialto is actually a really good one. I'm going to put the link below. You can find a spares place, or even try and research one, find one second hand. Problem with finding second-hand headlights is you generally can't find them because most people crash from the front. So unfortunately, they do a few rear-end shunts and stuff, but they're quite hard to find. So yeah, generally halogen headlights have to be replaced. Now LED and xenon headlights, more and more as cars get more intelligent and get more digital, we've seen that people have been able to use the onboard software to adjust the beam spread of the vehicle. In some cases, we've actually seen them where they've been able to adjust them from left to right spread for EU driving. Definitely speak to the manufacturer of your vehicle to see if that is possible. If you can flatline the beam, make it just completely flat, that is mainly acceptable as well. We've had a few problems with Mercedes actually, where you can flatline the beam, but when you put it on the machine, you could just see a tiniest of kicks like that, just a tiniest of kicks, which they say spread over 200 or 300 meters would be a huge kick. So check in with the manufacturer if you can set up your lights for left-hand driving. If they say yes, even then make sure there's not the tiniest of kicks, because that will still be a fail. And if not, you might have to replace your headlights, which in some circumstances can be really expensive. Okay, what's the next thing? The next thing is fog lights. So evidently in the UK you overtake on the right hand side. If you overtake on the right, in Spain you overtake on the left. So in Spain, for a vehicle to be legal, you need to have a fog light looking from the rear of the vehicle on the left hand side of the vehicle, in the middle, or doubles. Sometimes in the UK they only have fog lights on the right hand side, in which case this would be needed to be switched to the left, which is possible. A lot of the times the units are just blank units, and you can just take a live feed from one side, run it to the next side, and change the positioning of the fog light. Next thing is the kilometers. Be careful. If you have to be able to, most cars now, to be honest with you, you can switch from kilometers to miles per hour, or they have it on the odometer in the middle. They have miles per hour on the outside, and they'll have kilometers on the inside. But you must be able to read how fast you are going in kilometers per hour on your vehicle. Another fail is tyres. Generally it's tyres. Now I'll tell you why. It's because here in Spain they're very strict, very strict on the tyre size and weight limits and blah de blah de blah. Very strict. The reason being is because when you go for your test, they check the conformity of the vehicle. You're going to have to take either a certificate of conformity from the manufacturer or a document called a Ficha Técnica Reducida from a Spanish technician. Either of those documents is going to basically give them an instruction of what tyres can go on this vehicle. So they're going to check the letter and the speed rating, etc, etc. Now in the UK, for some reason, what we find is that generally people are allowed to fit tyres which are cheaper and don't quite meet the specifications of the conformity of the vehicle, and they pass MOT tests like that, as long as they're safe, they've got the correct tread, etc, etc. Here they don't let you do that. You could have the most perfect tyres, the correct size and everything, but if the speed rating doesn't meet the minimum speed rating on the conformity or the certificate that you present, then it'll be a fail. Okay, how do you check that? It's extremely difficult. You need to check in with your manufacturer, or you can actually get, say, your ficha técnica reducida from a Spanish technician before you come, by providing them with photos and stuff. A lot of people do this remotely now, albeit they're supposed to check the vehicles. What they can do is they can provide you with a ficha, and then when you arrive in Spain, come and check the vehicle to make sure that what you sent them is correct. So the tyres, be careful of the size of your tyres. What else have we got? Now, unregulated modifications. In Spain, unfortunately, you can't modify a vehicle without doing it legally, and you can't modify a vehicle for a registration. So you may have things like window tints. Window tints, if they haven't been stamped and have an EU certificate, would have to come off, and you'd have to replace them with EU window tints which come with a stamp and a certificate. In the UK they don't ask you to do that, you can just put window tints on. Tow bars. Tow bars are a pain. At the moment I don't know what's happening with tow bars, I don't seem to like any of them. Very much like the tyres, if you've got a aftermarket tow bar on your vehicle and it doesn't meet the specifications in your ficha técnica reducida or your certificate of conformity, the likelihood is they're going to ask you to take it off, and they ask you to take the whole thing off. Okay, the whole thing, the bar, everything. If that is one piece, you don't just take the tow bar off, you have to remove the electrics, the bar. What's the problem there? On some vehicles you have to then replace the bar with a non-tow bar strut. Okay, so recently had it with a Mercedes where the tow bar was attached, the tow bar was attached to the back rear part of the chassis really. They had to take it off and replace it with a new bar. I'm not a mechanic, so I don't know how exactly that worked because a mechanic had to do it, but I knew it was a big job. So definitely check the tow bar, check that it is inside of the conformity of the vehicle. If not, you may be asked to take it off. Other things like snorkels on the side of 4x4s, bull bars, unregulated extra lights on the front, maybe spotlights, anything which is an unregulated reform to the vehicle, they call it modification, modificaciones, reformas, could be a problem when going to the ITV test. What else have we got? Now I've got the list of photos here. Oh yes, here's a good one. Let's talk about the conformity of vehicles. Now, if you are bringing a vehicle in for change of residence, you're coming to live in Spain full time, and you've owned the vehicle for more than 6 months, then you can bring a vehicle in which doesn't have EU conformity. Now, the reason is because that's your personal vehicle, okay, and you're moving, so it doesn't have to conform into EU standards, but it still has to be roadworthy, and they are still extremely funny and about modifications to the vehicle. So, for example, we recently had one. A guy imported a vehicle from the States. They took it to the UK. He's had it in the UK now for 6 years. His personal vehicle. He's now coming to Spain, and he can now register that vehicle as for change of residence and drive it around Spain. He would not be allowed to bring that vehicle in as a normal matriculation because it does not have EU conformity, but for change of residence that allows him to waive that. Now here in Andalusia, but different regions in Spain treat this differently. I know in Valencia they treat it differently to here, but here in Andalusia, if you're not taking residence, you can still bring a UK vehicle as an EU conformed vehicle as long as it has EU conformity and a manufacturer's sticker that matches, which shows the conformity, and the conformity is on the original documentation for the vehicle. It can still pass a normal EU conformed test as long as the vehicle was registered before the 1st of January 2021. For all vehicles registered after the 1st of January 2021, they are classed automatically, albeit they have all the correct stickers, the correct numeration on the documents, etc. They're all classed as non-EU vehicles because that's when the UK left the EU, and you can only bring those vehicles in for change of residence. Okay then, so that's it. That's about the main points as to why a right-hand drive car may fail an ITV test. Don't forget also that they never see rust. So we've had a few ITVs where we've gone over, they've given it what they call an advisory for rust. I'm like, no, all cars come from the UK are a little bit rusty underneath. And you know, the car has to have like every single technical inspection, evidently the oil, the water, everything else all has to be at the correct levels. It has to pass an emissions test. All your seat belts have to work correctly. What I will say is that if you have one of these vehicles which is multi-use, which you can put the seats down, maybe take seats out or whatever, if you have a 7-seater which has fold-down seats, when you go to the ITV, make sure all the seats are in their position and make sure the seat belts are all clicked into place. I find that cleaning the car really helps pass a test. Don't take a mucky car, always take a clean car. I don't know why, but it definitely works. Clean your car before you go. Make sure you've got all your original documentation. Make sure you check that your vehicle is left-hand drive conformed, the headlights, the fog light, everything else, and hopefully you will get a pass. Okay, brilliant. Thanks for watching, and we will put a few interesting links below as always. And if you like the channel, please give us a thumbs up, a like, and subscribe.